What happens when you stop listening to appropriate hunger cues because you're on a GLP-1? I had a client tell me today who has been in the bodybuilding space and the fitness industry and working out pretty much his entire life, professional athlete, that kind of stuff, tell me that he thinks he needs to change the dose of his GLP because he's not getting enough protein. He's not paying attention to what he's eating. He's not eating appropriately. And not eating appropriately, like not getting enough of what he needs, has never been a problem before. And now he's frustrated because while his weight is down, his muscle mass is significantly down too, and that's because he's not fueling his body appropriately. It's made probably even a little more frustrating because when he was enrolled in a program with me a couple of years ago, he got to a very similar weight, but was leaner. Like he actually had more lean mass on his body than he does right now, and we weren't using GLP-1s. And this is another one of those cases where I'm like, track everything. Literally, track everything. Because at almost 50, your ability to put muscle mass on is decreasing. As a woman, every year beyond 30, your ability to put muscle mass on is decreasing. It not only takes amino acids to build muscle, but it takes fuel. Like, to build something, it takes fuel. And not like a ton of fuel, but enough fuel to maintain what you have and add extra to it. For most women, that's going to be somewhere between 1,400 and 1,800 calories, depending on your size already. For most men, that's going to be somewhere between 1,600 calories and 1,800 calories, depending on your size already. I can tell you, when I was working with this gentleman in the past, it took us to put muscle mass on, but also strip body fat. It was taking us right around 2,800 calories in the last 3 weeks. Before that, we were at 2,200 for a few weeks, and before that, we were down at 1,600 trying to get his body to strip fat. But we didn't stay there long. And since muscle is the only metabolic tissue you have and the only thing keeping you from being insulin resistant in the future, you want more of it on your frame. It's like your 401k for your long-term health and longevity. Literally, it's the most important thing for longevity. And if you're waiting until you've lost the weight to start lifting weights and putting on muscle, you're doing it wrong. Because while that fuel is on your body still, your body can use that to help you build muscle. So it takes amino acids and it takes fuel to build muscle, right? So if you have excess stored energy on your body, fuel on your body, why not use it to your advantage so that you're then using up that fuel, teaching your body how to use it responsibly, and also putting an investment in your long-term health 401k. And I was having a similar conversation with a gal about a month ago who is on her maintenance dose for her GLP after dropping 30 pounds, and she's only taking 1 dose a month. But she was having issues where she's going to the gym and she's not seeing the results that she wants, and she couldn't really understand why. And so I asked her, are you tracking it? And she said, I haven't been as good about tracking it. I had been previously. And I said, well, were you seeing results previously? And she said, yes. And I said, well, then why did you stop tracking it? And she said, I thought I had it under control. And I said, well, okay, what are you looking for? And she said, I was thinking about coming to see you as a client. And I was like, okay, but why? And she's like, well, I have Hashimoto's and I had this weight issue and I want to make sure that I'm doing everything right. And I was like, okay, what do you think the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is? And she said, track everything. And I said, okay, why don't we start there? And she's like, it seems too simple. And I said, just do it for 2 weeks. Just do it for 2 weeks. So she started tracking. And she sent me a text message this week that said, okay, You might have been right. I tracked for 2 weeks and I didn't change anything. And then in the 3rd week, I made a change, and my body composition at the end of that week is better. It's more what I feel like it should be. I'm getting the results out of my workout that I think I should. And I said, that's great. Congratulations. Just keep tracking it. And she said, you're telling people to track stuff. You're just telling them to do the simplest thing. And you basically lost a client because of it. And I said, yeah, but if I had taken you on as a client and broken your trust that it was that simple and you needed me for something down the road, would you have come back? And she said, touche. So literally, if you're not seeing the results that you want, track everything and be super dedicated to the tracking. Be super honest about the tracking. It makes a difference. It tells us what's happening and where we can make adjustments. And for some people, those adjustments have been, don't exercise as hard right now. Your body's under a lot of stress. Still go for a walk every day, especially hit that 15-minute window right after you finish the meal. It makes a difference. But if you're on this weight loss journey and you're using a GLP-1 to get there, you especially need to be tracking it. Because if you're not tracking it and you start not seeing things go the way that you want them to, you won't know where to make the first change or adjustment in order to see the biggest result.